All right, here we go with objective 18, the second to last objective in this unit on inequalities. Here we're going to be talking about solving multi-step linear inequalities. So this is going to be very similar to what we learned in the first unit when we solved linear equations, but now we're going to be dealing with inequalities. The process is pretty much the same. Step one is always going to be to combine like terms on both sides of the equal sign. Both sides of the equal sign. Step two is to get the variables on one side and the numbers on the other. So just like how we have in the past, choose a side and then put the variables there, and then choose the other side and put the numbers over there. And then step three is to solve as usual. So like I said, nothing really different in this objective, but now we're dealing with inequalities. So a quick note, you can put a star next to this. We want to flip the inequality when we multiply or divide by a negative on both sides of the equal sign. And then again, as a reminder, when we are graphing these, we're going to have greater than or less than is going to be an open circle, and less than or equal to or greater than or equal to is going to be a closed circle. All right, so let's go ahead and solve and graph. So here, the first thing that we do, step one, is combine like terms. On the left-hand side of the inequality, I see we have 6x and 2x. That gives us 8x. And then the plus 4, there's nothing to combine with it there. So that just gets tagged along for the ride. The inequality, we bring that down. 2x plus 20, that side doesn't have any like terms, so that stays as is, 2x plus 20. Now let's choose, I'll say the left-hand side will do the variables and the right-hand side will do our numbers. So I want to move all my variables to the left-hand side, so I'm going to subtract my 2x. That gives me 6x. I'm going to bring down the plus 4, the inequality, and our plus 20, or positive 20. We want our numbers on the right-hand side, so I'm going to subtract 4 from both sides. And we have 6x is greater than 20 minus 4 is 16. And then our last step, to get x by itself, we divide both sides by 6. And I'll write my solution over here. X is greater than, we don't flip the inequality, right? We didn't divide by a negative. And then 16 over 6, we can reduce that fraction. We can pull out a factor of 2. So 16 divided by 2 gives me 8, and 6 divided by 2 gives me 3. So 16/6 reduces to 8/3. If you have an Inspire as well, you can always plug it in there, and your Inspire will reduce it for you. All right, so to graph this, we've got our variable on the left-hand side, so we're good. We're going to plot 0 and our number, 8/3. So that's positive. That's going to go on the right-hand side. We're going to draw an open circle. This is not equal to, so an open circle. And then using our arrow trick, we're going to shade to the right. And there's our graph. All right, next up, we've got this here. We're going to combine like terms, step one. I see we've got a -2 and a +8. The -4x doesn't have any like terms, so we're just going to bring that down. That -2 and the +8, we're going to do -2 plus 8, gives us a +6. And then on the right-hand side of the inequality, there's nothing to combine there, so that stays as is. Let's choose a side for the variables. I'll say the left side again, and we'll say the right side is our numbers. So we got to move that -3x to the other side. So we're going to add 3x to both sides. So we have -4x plus 3x. So -4 plus 3 is -1x. We'll bring down the +6. our inequality, and the 14. All right, next up, we want to move our numbers to the right-hand side, so we'll subtract both 6 from both sides. So we have negative 1x is less than or equal to 14 minus 6 is 8. And I'm running out of space, so I'll rewrite the inequality over here. Negative 1x is less than or equal to 8. Our last step, we've got negative 1 times x. So in order to get rid of that, we have to divide by negative 1. Now, since we're dividing by a negative, we got to flip that inequality. So we have x is greater than or equal to 8 divided by negative 1 is negative 8. And that is our solution. So to graph this, again, our variable's on the left-hand side, so we're good. We don't have to flip. We'll plot 0 and negative 8. Negative 8 is on the left-hand side of 0. We've got greater than or equal to, so that's a shaded circle. And then using our arrow trick, so greater than or equal to, we're going to draw in our arrow. So we're going to shade to the right. So we shade to the right, and we draw in our arrowhead. Here we go. Last but not least, here we have this here. Step 1 is to combine like terms. On the left-hand side, there's nothing to combine the negative 12. There's nothing to combine with the 4x, so we're just going to bring that down. We're going to bring down our inequality as well. On the right-hand side, we have 3x and 2x, so that's going to give us 5x. And then we've got negative 9 and negative 11 is going to give us negative 20. All right. Let's pick a side for our variables. Let's switch it up. We'll say our right-hand side is our variables, and our left-hand side is our numbers. Okay, so we got to move this 4x to the right-hand side, so we're going to subtract 4x. So we have 5x minus 4x gives us just 1x. You can write 1x or you can write just x. Bring down our negative 20 or a minus 20. Bring down our inequality and bring down our negative 12. We want our numbers on our left-hand side, so we'll add 20 to both sides. So on the left-hand side, we have negative 12 plus 20, which is positive 8. And then we'll bring down our inequality. And then our last step, we could divide by negative 1, or if you remember, if we can rewrite 1x as just x. So we have this solution here. Now, in order to graph this, our x is on the right-hand side. We got to flip that around. So now we're going to have x on the left-hand side. We got to flip our inequality. And then the 8 moves to the right-hand side. Okay. So we're going to graph this now. We're going to plot 0 and 8. So 0, 8 is positive, so on the right-hand side. This is less than or equal to, so this is going to be a solid circle. Using our arrow trick, less than or equal to, we're going to shade to the left. So we're going to shade to the left-hand side. And we'll draw in our arrowhead. All right. So this is solving multi-step linear inequalities. First, we combine like terms, get the variables on one side, numbers on the other, and then we'll solve as usual. We'll see you in class. Have a great day, everyone.